T.I., you got to tell that what you do to him. DJ Akademiks is wading into the 50 Cent and T.I. beef, and he's dropping straight bombshells. What started off as a regular feud is now turning into a docu series siring out T.I.'s dirty laundry. And you know how that turned out the last time 50 did this. Things are heating up like crazy. So, let's get into it. How a decades-old grudge came roaring back to life. Okay, so before we even get into where things are popping off right now, the diss tracks, the documentary threats, the dead mama bars, and Akademiks in full commentator mode breaking every single second of this down like he's calling a championship fight. You need to dead whatever you think you already know about this situation. Because this beef, this ain't new. This ain't something that just spawned out of nowhere because somebody said something slick on a podcast. Nah, this thing got roots, fam, deep ones, old ones. The kind of roots that been sitting in the dirt for nearly 20 years, just waiting for the right moment to crack the concrete open. And if you don't know the history, the real history, then you're just watching the highlight reel and missing the whole movie. So, we're going all the way back to when both of these men were at their most dangerous. Let's run it. The beef between T.I. and 50 Cent is a long simmering rap rivalry that dates back nearly 20 years. And it ain't rooted in one single moment where somebody said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Nah, this thing was built slow, layer by layer, out of regional pride, subtle shade, legal accusations, and two of the most gassed up egos the rap game has ever seen. Both of them absolutely convinced they were the top dog, and neither one willing to step aside for the other. Atlanta versus Queens. The self-proclaimed king of the South versus the man who literally rewrote the rulebook on how to run hip-hop in the mid-2000s. On paper, these two never had to be on opposite sides. In reality, from the jump, they were always going to bump heads. It was never an if. It was always a when. It starts in 2007. T is fresh off King, his fourth studio album. The project that was basically him planting a flag in the ground and telling the whole rap game, "This my throne, step to it." He's at the absolute top of his bag. Grammy nominations, platinum plaques, the kind of love from the culture that most rappers would sell their soul for. And then on a Hot 97 interview with Angie Martinez, 50 Cent decides to open his mouth. He doesn't say Tip's name. He's slick about it. 50 is always slick about it in these early exchanges, but 50 dismissed singular king claims, saying, "How you going to be the king? Who decides that?" The fans decide that you can't just call yourself the king. The hip-hop internet, as limited as it was back in 2007, clocked that immediately as a shot at Tip. T clocked it too. He wasn't deaf, and he damn sure wasn't slow. But that was just the warm-up, the little jab before the real combination landed. The actual escalation that came in 2008 wrapped up inside a gunnet track called You So Tough. T had just caught some serious Fed time. Machine guns, silencers, a case that should have had him in a cell for up to a decade. He walked out with 1 year, 1 and 50 Cent, who built his whole brand on street credibility and keeping it 100. Hopped on that track and basically put the math on Front Street, pointing out that those numbers ain't add up for somebody who wasn't cooperating with the feds. The snitch narrative, the accusation that Tip had worked with federal authorities to get that sweet deal, took root in hip-hop folklore right then and there, like a stain on a white tee that ain't never fully coming out, and it would follow T.I. around for the next 18 years. Now, T is not the type of man to just eat that and keep it moving. When he and his wife Tiny caught a drug charge in 2010, pills and weed, and T ended up with an extra 11 months for a parole violation on top of it, 50 went straight back to that same wound like he never let it scar. He went on record questioning why Tiny ain't take the fall for the charges. T came back with a response that was sharp, personal, and direct, landing in a vibe cover story where he drew a hard line around his situation and called that kind of thinking exactly what it was. 50 fired back on Twitter doing the math. Eventually, the two squashed it through a mutual plug. 50 told Vibe it was dead. For a minute, a long minute. It actually looked like it was. Skip ahead a decade. The whole world is locked in the crib. Versus the battle format Timberland and Swizz Beatz cooked up is running the culture. Artists are hopping on Instagram live going hit for hit. Catalog versus catalog, letting the music settle the score. It's the most fun the internet had all pandemic. And T never won to let an opportunity to assert himself slide by. Decides he wants to run it up against 50 Cent. On 50 Cent's 45th birthday, July 6, 2020, T pulled up on Instagram Live and issued the Challenge 20 songs. Let's see what you got. He even brought up the old Kanye versus 50 chart war. The battle 50 famously caught an L in and used as the reason he stepped back from the spotlight. It was a flex disguised as an invitation. Come outside, bro, show the people. 50 was not with it, not even a little bit. He clowned the whole thing publicly and later bodied the entire Verzu format in an interview, saying it stopped making sense once the world opened back up. No battle, no smoke, just 50 being 50. Unbothered on his own timeline, completely unbothered by the noise. But Tip kept pressing on radio, in interviews, at events, kept bringing it up like a bill that needed to be paid. And according to T.I. himself, spitting it back in February 2026 on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, the two had actually quietly agreed in LA while they were out there selling shows together, but 50 came back and played dumb in front of the cameras. Whether that's facts or revisionist history is between those two men and God. What we do know for certain is this: that Verzu's invitation that never got answered became a splinter under T.I.'s skin that never fully worked itself out. And in February 2026, that splinter became a whole detonator. The whole situation went off in February 2026, right in the middle of T.I.'s Kill the King rollout. On the Nightcap podcast on February 6th with Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson on the panel, T.I. said publicly that he'd been trying to get 50 for Verz, but that 50 was on some duck smoke behavior. Straight up told the world the man was ducking. 50 Cent heard it, and he didn't respond with a track. He didn't hop in the booth. He pulled up with receipts, old Crime Stoppers clips, court testimony footage from a 2006 murder case tied to one of T.I.'s people, and slapped a caption on it: King Rat. Oh, it was up. T fired right back, telling 50 that only one of them was actually a rat in real life, and that he had 50's paperwork to prove it. And then on February 22nd, after the back and forth kept cooking, 50 went on Instagram and posted an unflattering photo of Tiny. His story was that he wasn't being disrespectful, just telling T to keep his name out of his mouth and leave him alone. But the internet ain't read it that way. They read it as a direct shot at T.I.'s wife and T.I.'s son, King Harris. He didn't wait for no clarification. King Harris went scorched earth. He brought 50's late mother, Sabrina, who passed away in a house fire, directly into the conversation and made it as raw and personal as it gets. 50 clapped back with memes, Pepe the Frog comparisons to King, and the type of troll behavior that the internet has come to expect from Curtis Jackson when he decides he's not taking something serious. Even Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mom, got caught in the crossfire, reposting support for Tiny and getting 50's attention in the process. Then the music started dropping like it was a free-for-all. T.I. came with track after track. The whole family got involved. King Harris slid into a video rocking a t-shirt with Sabrina Jackson's face on it. 50's late mother and Rick Ross publicly co-signed the move. Demoney linked in with Ms. Jackson. Outkast sample burning house artwork. Nothing left to the imagination. The entire Harris family turned this into a full coordinated press run. It wasn't just beef anymore. It was a campaign. And somewhere behind his streaming setup, watching all of this pop off in real time, DJ Akademiks was already sharpening his pen. Because if this was going to be the first major hip-hop beef of 2026, he was going to be the one calling every play, every audible, every dirty hit. Now let's talk about who DJ Akademiks actually is in this context, because that matters. Akademiks, born George Asenovich, didn't start this beef and hasn't personally dissed either man. He's the hip-hop media figure whose daily streams, Instagram clips, YouTube reactions, and TikToks have turned the whole situation into something people are watching like it's a PPV event. He's giving play-by-play on every diss track, every IG post, every escalation, scoring rounds, advising strategy, giving context to casual fans who might not catch what's really being said between the lines. His coverage started going crazy in February 2026. And the very first big picture move he made was to reach for the comparison that every hip-hop head already felt in their chest without being able to articulate it. Drake versus Kendrick. So Mida reacting to 50 Cent finally reacting to him, because that's what this smells like, fam. You got a man who spent years being the bully, the one who ended careers, turned names into punchlines, made Ja Rule, something people use as a verb when they're describing an L. And now the internet wants to see if that same man can take the heat when it comes back around. They want to see if the king gets dethroned. That's the energy. And Akademiks, who had a front row seat to Drake Kendrick and watched what that did for his platform, locked into that framing immediately and didn't let it go. Akademiks dissects the music, the strategy, and the marketing machine. Here is where Akademiks starts showing why he's actually the sharpest commentator operating in the hip-hop media space right now. Because while the rest of the internet was busy picking sides, riding with Tip or riding with Fifth, Akademiks was doing something a lot more calculated. He was reading the whole chessboard, tracking not just the moves, but the motivation behind the moves. And he was asking a question that most people scrolling through the drama weren't even thinking to ask. Is this actually beef? Or is this the most well-executed music rollout we've seen in years? And everybody just got finessed into thinking it was something else. Akademiks put his audience onto a perspective that had been floating on threads originally posted by Karen Civil, the marketing vet who had been in the trenches with Nipsey Hussle and Lil Wayne, somebody with real industry connections and a reputation for reading these situations before they fully developed. Karen's read on the whole situation went something like this. T had tried to bait Lil Wayne into a versus battle a few months before any of this 50 stuff started. Wayne iced him, gave him nothing. So T.I. pivoted and tried the same play on 50. And when 50 posted that photo of Tiny with a "leave me out of it" caption, even without saying anything directly negative, T and the whole Harris family treated it like a declaration of war and launched what Karen called a music disc rollout campaign. Just dressed up in beef clothing to make it hit harder. It's about having emotional intelligence to see a marketing rollout. And Akademiks didn't push back on that read. He actually validated a lot of it. On his Kick stream on February 26th, he said something that cut way deeper. He found it straight up weird that T.I. kept dropping music aimed at someone who was actively disrespecting his wife and his manhood, because a man of T.I.'s caliber and legacy shouldn't need to be capitalizing off of that kind of energy. He said at a certain point, the Versus conversation should have been dead and buried. You don't want to share a stage with a man who's been saying things like that about your family. That's your pride on the line. I literally can't tell if these are all at 50. And yet T.I. kept on dropping song after song after song. The kids started pulling up too. 50 Cent himself peeped the volume of music coming out and reportedly said the quiet part loud that T knew exactly what he was doing and was just trying to push records. And the data backed that up. No cap. Kill the King picked up a real measurable streaming and sales bump that T.I.'s recent projects on their own had not been generating. The beef was serving its purpose whether it was real or not. Numbers don't lie. But here's the part of Akademiks' commentary that separates him from every other cap-in-hand blogger and reaction channel running the same footage. He kept coming back to a very honest, very specific critique of the music itself. And he wasn't being disrespectful to T.I.'s legacy when he said it. He was being real. He was keeping it a bean. T clearly rides better than the sun. But in a diss song, it's about disrespect. That right there is the whole diagnosis in one sentence. T is approaching these disc songs the way a craftsman approaches a project. Methodically, with precision, like somebody who still cares deeply about being regarded as a lyricist, as a wordsmith, as an artist with something to say. He's got his thesaurus out. He's building bars. And in any other context, that would be impressive. But in a diss track context, especially in 2026 where the internet has the attention span of a goldfish and needs the most outrageous moment or it moves on in 30 seconds. That approach is leaving money on the table. The hottest diss songs is the most disrespectful. That's the hottest bars, and Akademiks wasn't wrong. Think about what actually broke the internet during Drake Kendrick. It wasn't the most technically sophisticated verse. It was certified lover boy, certified PDF file. It was the line that made people stop their scroll, rewind it 3 times, screenshot it, and send it to every group chat they're in. It was the moment that felt genuinely dangerous, like somebody had reached through the speakers and grabbed the other person by the neck on live television. T wasn't doing that. And Akademiks, for all the respect he has for what Tip has built, wasn't about to sit there and pretend otherwise. T, you got to tell that what you do to him. He even started low-key coaching T.I. on stream. Unsolicited, unprompted, just offering the game for free. He told Tip to study the Kendrick playbook. Get visceral. Get personal. Stop rapping like you got a Nike deal you're trying to protect. The people tuning in want the moment where somebody says the thing that can't be taken back, the thing that ends the night. And until T.I. gives them that moment, he ain't really winning the internet, even if technically he's the better rapper in the room. The person who actually was winning the internet, according to AK, and he said this almost reluctantly like he was surprised by his own take, was King Harris, T.I.'s son. Hey yo, King, when you hear this, don't get a big head, bro. Pause. He gave King his flowers on stream. Straight up acknowledged that the young boy was cooking the most disrespectful bars in the whole campaign. He was saying the things T was too polished to say. He was swinging the kind of reckless, no-filter haymakers that actually make people stop scrolling and start sharing. T was out there rapping about legacy, about trauma bonds, about principle, and King was going straight for 50's jugular with bars that sounded genuinely dangerous. And there's something really interesting about that dynamic when you sit with it. T, the legend, the one with everything to prove, was playing it safe, protecting his image, keeping his bars respectable. His son, the one with nothing to lose, no reputation to manage, no brand deal to worry about, was taking the kind of swings that actually moved the needle. And the social media consensus started forming that the beef had given Kill the King a boost that no amount of conventional promo could have manufactured on its own. And it was the family spectacle, not just T.I.'s solo bars, that was driving the majority of that attention. The whole Harris crew became the story. Meanwhile, 50 Cent was operating on a whole different frequency. And Akademiks, even while giving T.I.'s family their props for winning the rap battle, kept looping back to 50's strategic position and making the point that it was actually close to airtight. 50 was publicly playing down the whole rap angle, posting, "I'll take these L's, LOL, GLG," while simultaneously making sure everybody knew about his NAACP Image Award wins for Power Book 3, Raising Cannon, his rapped Fightland production, and the Power Origins theme song with Leon Thomas that slipped some beef shade in without putting a single streaming number at risk. And 50 was just posting memes. And I ain't going to lie to you. That right there, that is the 2026 version of actually winning a beef. You don't go bar for bar. You don't give the other man the dignity of a full musical response that can be ranked and rated and put into a Who Won poll. You troll. You drop memes. You let your TV empire speak louder than anything you could ever rap over a beat. And on the rare occasion you do say something with musical intent. You make it a theme song for a show you're already getting paid for, not a standalone disc record that can be judged against everything else in your catalog. There is no scoreboard when you never officially enter the competition. Akademiks compared 50 to Drake in the later stages of the Kendrick situation, noting that when you've been the bully for long enough, the crowd stops sympathizing with you and starts cheering for whoever's throwing the punches. And that 50's biggest problem was that he'd successfully run over so many people for so many years that folks were genuinely gassed to see someone push back. But he also kept stressing that 50 being diabolical, not caring about the music rounds, not caring about the rap scorecard was actually his biggest cheat code in this particular situation. And 50 says, "Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy do? Dame thought I wasn't coming." That post and delete from 50 where he referenced going quiet before the Diddy documentary dropped and reminded everybody what happened after that silence was the coldest move of the entire early phase of this beef. It wasn't a diss track. It wasn't even technically an insult. It was a reminder of exactly what this man is capable of when he decides to stop playing around and start playing for keeps. And that reminder came attached to a very specific threat that changed the entire temperature of the room. By early March 2026, 50 Cent had moved from hinting at to straight up confirming the development of a Netflix-style documentary called Surviving T and Tiny. The subject matter, the wave of civil sexual assault allegations that had been building against T and Tiny since 2021. Multiple women's serious claims that the couple have denied completely and consistently. And 50 made the parallel explicit. He wasn't being subtle about it. He was referencing his executive-produced Netflix series on Diddy, which had gone nuclear in views and cultural penetration, and making sure T.I. understood that he knew exactly how to run that same play. T hit back immediately. "We can go bar for bar, hit for hit, or doc for doc." Said it with his chest. Said it like a man who wasn't rattled. But Akademiks, who by this point had turned every single development in this beef into real-time content, had a very different read on what the documentary threat actually meant. And that is exactly where we're headed in part 3, the documentary threat and the allegations. Alright, everything we've been talking about up until this point, the memes, the discs, tracks, the family getting involved, King Harris putting 50's late mama on a t-shirt, Demony flipping Outkast, all of that exists in a space that hip-hop heads know how to process. Beef has a genre. It has rules, even when it pretends not to. You can score it, debate it, make a playlist out of it, talk about it on the way to work. But what 50 Cent did in early March 2026 was drag this situation into territory where the rules don't apply, where there's no scoreboard, and where the consequences aren't just who sounds harder on a track. And Akademiks giving it to his audience raw and uncut the way he does was one of the first voices to say on camera, "We ain't just doing entertainment anymore. This just became something else." Let's be exact about what the surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary thread is pointing at, because you need to understand this before you can understand why Akademiks reacted the way he did. Starting in 2021, a wave of civil sexual assault and drugging allegations came out against T and Tiny from multiple women. Accusations involving rape, coercion, and misconduct allegedly occurring at parties and hotels across multiple states, with incidents said to have gone down anywhere from 2005 through the 2010s. T.I. and Tiny have denied every single one. They've called it a propaganda operation, extortion. Several of the lawsuits have been dismissed, and at least one accuser ended up on the hook for legal fees after her case got tossed. But the legal fight is not fully over. Not by a long shot. A 2024 civil suit from a Jane Doe described as an Air Force veteran alleging a 2005 incident at an LA nightclub has not been completely dismissed, with a June 2026 trial date still on the calendar for the claims that survived. The LAPD investigated and closed at least one case in 2021 without criminal charges, citing the statute of limitations as the reason no prosecution moved forward. No criminal convictions exist, but the civil courts are still active, and that is what 50 Cent is pointing the documentary camera directly at. They're going to ask you about your 20 sexual assault cases. He didn't whisper that. He put it in a post and delete that the entire internet screenshotted before he could pull it back. And the framing, "I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour," was a deliberate call back to the Diddy documentary playbook, which 50 had already run successfully once before, using the format to apply pressure on a figure who thought they could control their own narrative. Akademiks went on stream and said directly, T.I. better cut the rapping out and get a lawyer. They might even have to sue 50. He flagged the real legal exposure that exists if a Netflix-distributed documentary starts airing specific and proven allegations to a massive mainstream audience. And he wasn't being dramatic. He was reading the situation correctly. The music beef and the documentary threat are two completely different fights, and only one of them can actually hurt T.I. in the streets and in the courtroom at the same time. Now, let's get into the paperwork war, because both sides have been throwing that word around like it's a loaded weapon, and Akademiks' audience has been watching it fly back and forth, and it is genuinely important to lock in what is actually documented versus what is rap theater dressed up as evidence. 50 Cent has been posting old Crime Stoppers clips of T.I. and court testimony footage from a 2006 murder case, labeling him King Rat, and implying that the one-year sentence he walked away with on a case involving multiple machine guns and silencers that could have sent him away for a decade was the product of cooperation with federal law enforcement. That's the allegation. That's the play 50 keeps running. But T.I. has been firing back at that narrative for years, publicly dropping his federal inmate number and daring anyone on the planet to name a single person who ended up in a cell because of his cooperation. Nobody ever has. Nobody ever has. The plea deal was a straightforward guilty on possession. The Crime Stoppers PSA was community service. Not a single federal document lists T as a cooperating witness. Now flip it. T and King Harris have been out here claiming they're holding 50 Cent's paperwork from the 2009 LOI Mac and Jimmy Henchman situation. Alleged FBI reports suggesting 50 tipped off investigators on James Jimmy Henchman Roseman. Here's the problem with that. Those specific documents were ruled entirely fabricated by law enforcement sources, confirmed by a 2019 TMZ investigation. No such report was ever filed. 50 was never interviewed or listed as an informant in that case. And Henchman's life sentence came from a completely separate body of evidence that had nothing to do with 50. Both sets of paperwork claims to keep it all the way 100 are hip-hop theater. Neither side has produced documents that actually hold up under scrutiny. What they've produced is the idea of documents. The threat of documentation and in rap beef that functions as a weapon whether or not the paper is real. Because the accusation spreads faster than the correction ever will. Akademiks has consistently described 50 as diabolical in this context. Not because he's got the moral high ground, but because he understands better than almost anybody in the game how to weaponize a narrative without needing to verify a single word of it. The documentary threat doesn't have to turn into an actual documentary to do its damage. The existence of the threat is already doing the damage. Every press run T.I. does from now on. Every interview, every promo appearance, somebody's going to ask about it. And that's exactly what 50 designed it to do. And this is the part of Akademiks' commentary where he separates himself from every other blogger, every other reaction channel, every other talking head trying to make $1 off this situation. He ain't just counting bars, he's counting leverage. And those are two completely different scoreboards. What Akademiks kept coming back to across multiple streams, multiple reaction videos, multiple IG clips that went viral is that this beef does not have equal stakes for the two men involved. T.I. is fighting for his legacy, his final album, his reputation as a father, as a husband, as a man of principle and street credibility in a genre that takes both of those things very seriously. Every track he drops is an attempt to control the story of who he is and what he stands for. That's real. That's honorable. But it's also the kind of vulnerability that a man like 50 Cent knows exactly how to exploit. 50 Cent is not fighting for anything because he has nothing he needs to win. His empire is sitting north of 150 million. His Stars Power franchise is still running. His Diddy documentary has already demonstrated what he's capable of doing when he decides to point a camera at someone and call it content. He can absorb every diss tracks. He can absorb the family jumping in. He can absorb King Harris putting Sabrina's face on a t-shirt. None of that cost him a thing that he actually values. And when you're in a fight with someone who has nothing to lose versus someone who has nothing they need to win, the person with nothing to lose is almost always going to come out of it standing. Akademiks was on record at points scoring this thing at 50 Cent up 4-0. And his whole point was that 50's non-M musical wins in beef situations have always been his real weapon, the thing nobody can match him on. The score ain't being kept on Spotify. It's being kept in the court of public opinion. And in that court, diabolical plays better than principled almost every single time. Ask Ja Rule. Ask Cameron. Ask anybody who ever tried to out-troll Curtis Jackson and came out of it looking worse than they went in. So, let's do what Akademiks does. Let's actually run the numbers. Let's put the scoreboard up. T.I.'s short-term position is real. Kill the King got a legitimate streaming and sales boost off the back of this whole situation. His sons became relevant to a broad hip-hop audience in a way they hadn't been before. And the sheer volume of content he pushed out kept him planted at the center of the conversation week after week. He won the rap rounds. Akademiks said that explicitly. T.I.'s family came with it musically. That's not debatable. But here's the thing about winning the rap rounds in a beef against 50 Cent. It has historically meant very little because 50 Cent ain't been fighting with music for a long time now. He fights with everything else, and everything else is where he's most dangerous. What he's swinging right now, the documentary threat, the promo tour warning, the deliberate amplification of unresolved civil allegations, is something T.I. cannot rap his way out of. A June 2026 civil trial is still on the docket. The Sabrina Peterson defamation suit got dismissed with fees, but other claims have not been fully resolved. Every interview T.I. does to push Kill the King is now also an opportunity for a journalist to bring up 24 civil sexual assault allegations. That is the trap that got set, and Akademiks was the one who watched it being laid out and told his audience what it was before most people had even processed it. I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. For 50 Cent himself, it's basically all upside from where he's standing. He keeps his catalog clean by refusing to engage musically. He strengthens the diabolical brand by pulling out the documentary threat. He ties the whole situation to his existing media machine and uses the drama to push shows, theme songs, and production projects that are already generating revenue. This is the same man who took 9 Bullets and turned the story of his own near death into the most dominant debut album in the history of rap. You think a few diss tracks from Atlanta are going to knock him off his axis? He knows how to metabolize conflict. That's been his whole thing since day one. And for DJ Akademiks himself, his Kick and YouTube breakdowns have turned this whole situation into must-watch content. Viral clips, debate threads, audience numbers that are echoing what he did during Drake-Kendrick. He is the play-by-play voice of record for 2020 SIX's first major hip-hop beef. And the beautiful thing about being the narrator is that you always survive the story, no matter how it ends. The narrator doesn't take an L. The narrator just gets a new chapter. The whole situation is still very much live on the timeline. T.I. is still in the middle of the Kill the King rollout. 50 is out here promoting Power Legacy as the final chapter of the franchise he built from scratch. The documentary threat is still hanging in the air like smoke. And Akademiks is still on stream every single night, reacting, scoring, breaking it all down, and occasionally going off script to offer T.I. some free, unsolicited, extremely specific advice about how to actually win the internet in 2026. Like just, yo, T, let me give you some advice. You ain't see what Kendrick did? To start lying. Because here's the real talk about how Akademiks processes beef and how the most locked-in hip-hop audience on the planet processes beef in 2026. It was never really about who's right and who's wrong. It ain't about who got the cleaner record or the longer resume or the more verified receipts. It's about who gives the people the moment they came for. The bar that makes you rewind it. The move that makes you put the phone down and go, wait, did he actually just T.I. is a legend? His catalog is certified. His influence on what Atlanta became and what Southern rap is now is not up for debate. But legends fight on legacy terms, on the terms of who they were at their peak, on the terms of respect and honor and principle. And 50 Cent, 20 years into a feud that most people genuinely thought was dead and buried, is fighting on his own terms, which means no rules, no mercy, no regard for how the crowd scores the rounds. And a documentary camera pointed directly at the most painful, legally active chapter of T.I.'s recent life. Akademiks watched every second of it. He broke every second of it down. And he said the thing that cut through all the noise, all the bars, all the family involvement, all the memes. You making a diss song in 2026. This ain't back in 2004 where you pop. The game has changed. The streets have moved on to a different kind of beef, and whether T.I. can adapt to what that means, not just for his legacy, but for his legal position, his family, and his ability to keep his name clean heading into a June trial. That is the question that's going to define how this whole story finishes, if it finishes at all. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right